Brightest blessings, this is Raven, and today we are going to make a journal step by step, just the cover at least, and then we'll look at sewing in signatures and things in the next video. So all you're going to need today is 3 pieces of cardboard, or if you have an old book or want to go to a charity shop to get an old book, you can take that apart and use the covers and the spine again. This I have already prepared with some black bookbinding tape. Not something you have to have. This can be found on Amazon. I will link that below. This is another type of bookbinding tape, but this is fabric. Again, not something you need. It's not a must. This is just because I wanted to make this particular cardboard a bit stronger, because as you can see, it's not very thick. You'll also want your papers that you want to use. So I have a strip for the spine, I have 2 for the cover and 2 for the inside. You will also want your distress ink and blending brush, or you could use coffee and lightly go around. You could use watercolour paint, you could use acrylic paint and just go around the outside to age it a little bit. It's not something you have to have, but if you would like to, that's fine. You'll also want a really good sturdy glue. I would recommend the art glitter glue, or you could use Fabri-Tac. Both are brilliant glues and have different uses, but in this case they could both be used for this. I'm going to use the art glitter glue though today. So once you have your pieces of cardboard, it's important to make sure that they are all completely straight and even. It doesn't matter which way round you want them. It doesn't matter what size you want them. All I would say is that you need to make sure that it is the size that will fit your paper. Okay, so I know that this will fit my papers nice and snugly. There's plenty of room all the way around the outside, and I can add bigger papers or ephemera without worrying about it sticking out too much of the edge. Sorry, Douglas the puppy is wrecking the joint. So with our papers, I am going to distress them. All around the edges. For this particular book, I want it to feel aged. These papers are from Victoria Designs. I will link the digital pack below. And I am aware that this pack that I'm using is part of a much larger pack that is quite expensive, so don't feel like you have to use these. There are plenty of other alternatives. The only thing that I would say is that if you're going to print them, make sure you print them on a good quality photo paper or brochure paper. Matte, if you can, is the best option to get the best images. Of course, you don't have to use digital prints, sorry. You can also use normal scrapbooking paper. Just be aware that if you are using the thicker paper, it will thicken up your book quite substantially. Giving all of this a really good ink just to cover up any of the white edges from cutting, and also gives everything a nice aged look. So I hope you're all doing well and crafting along with me today. It's been very busy on the channel. I've had lots of comments to answer, which is lovely. I've had quite a few requests to do this, so I thought you could come along with me. I've had requests for lots of things, so I really do enjoy getting requests from you guys. So if there's anything you'd like to see me do or hear me talk about, please do comment below and let me know. Right, so we've got our inside pages, our spine and our outside pages. Now, just wait for the glue a second. Okay, so these are going to be the inside, and you can see here that everything lines up quite nicely. There will also need to be a gap between the spine and the covers. Now, in this instance, I'm going to be using this black tape to attach all this together. However, you can do this with paper too. I like to use the brown packing paper. But for example, I'll show you with this piece of paper. So what you would do is glue your cover on, making sure that the paper is wide enough to go across into both sides of the cover. So you can see here, if I was using this piece of paper, I would make sure that this is centered nicely and that there is plenty of room both sides, so that then when the book does move and bend, it will hold it together nicely. So you would do that for the outside, and then on the inside you can do that again with another piece of paper, and this allows you to bend your book. So I've already cut my tape. Now, this tape is incredibly sticky and quite difficult to work with, so you'll have to excuse me while I fumble about a little bit because of how sticky it is. Stay. And what we're going to want to do is put this about an inch onto there. I'm going to get this other piece of tape now, because this tape isn't very wide. I need to make sure that I'm going to have plenty to cover our spine. There's our second page. And with our spine, we want to place it a couple of millimeters away, not too much, just a couple of millimeters away from the spine. So this is where it gets a little bit tricky. We've got that side. We're going to be covering the outside of the spine anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Lovely. And then this side again, a couple of millimeters for the bend. And then I like to pull that tape up. And this doesn't have to be all clean and tidy, because essentially we're going to be covering all of this anyway when we do our inside cover and when we sew in our signatures. So I'm just cutting the end off this tape as it is stuck together. It doesn't matter if they overlap. The only thing you need to be mindful of is that in a second we're going to press down that tape in the gap. So again, I'm just going to cut this off. The only thing you really need to worry about is making sure that this sticky part here that we left in the gap is going to have space to I've lost my train of thought, sorry. Making sure that we're covering all of that sticky part, okay? And with my bone folder, again, not something you have to have, but it is a quick and easy tool to be able to use to help with the bend. You could, of course, use a kitchen knife or something along those lines, but a knife that's not sharp, just to press that sticky down. Okay, and there we have our journal. Nice and easy. Okay, and that took minutes. Again, if you were using the paper, you would still need to make sure that this part here between the spine and the cover is firm and steady, and this allows your book to move, you see. Okay, so we've got our outside cover now, and we've got our front piece, our spine piece, and our back piece. Okay, so then all I'm going to do is use my art glitter glue, go all the way around the outside. You want to make sure that you're going to have a nice bead of glue going all the way around the edge, just to make sure that your page is going to stick nicely to the front cover. And just a little bit here and there in the centre. As I said, I pre-measured these out to make the video a little bit shorter. What we're going to do is just flatten this out, okay? Lovely jubbly. Found a little bit there that's still a bit white. There we are. Now with our spine. Again, this is optional. If you're having a thinner spine than this and you're using this black tape, you wouldn't necessarily need to cover if you can fit it all in one space. Just give that a little press down and make sure we're nice and even. And again with the back cover. And this art glitter glue is very strong and quick to dry, so we need to be relatively quick here. You could also use double-sided tape if you want to, but that will not give you any movement at all. And sometimes movement is what you're going to need to make sure that it's in the position that you want it to be. Okay, so we've got that now, and I'm just going to lightly go over with my bone folder just to make sure that everything is attached down nicely. And if for whatever reason it isn't in certain places, you can go back round with the glue. Okay, so there is our outside cover. Now for the inside. Now this part we're going to leave as it is, because I'm going to show you in the next video how to make signatures and how we're going to get that into here with a hidden sewing method. So we're going to decide on these. Oops. And stick side down. I personally like to make my journals out of nice hard cardboard or out of old books that I've had at the charity shop. Saves a lot of money on buying chipboard and various other bits and bobs that other people will use. And we want to try and make sure that they are relatively even on both sides. Okay, just put my lid back on here. Fiddly fiddly. Again, excuse my hands. I haven't got around to painting them yet. I've been too busy dyeing paper and doing flooring and things to worry about my nails. So there we have a basic cover, and how quickly have I just got that together. Obviously I've had to cut the pieces to the right size and shape, but otherwise the actual putting it together doesn't take very long. Now, whether I want to add a closure to this, I will decide towards the end. I have already made the decision that I don't need to hide anything, otherwise I wouldn't have put the insides in. So I could use some brads in here, I could use some little handles, I could use seam binding. I simply haven't decided yet which I'm going to do. So now we've got that together, I'll show you another one, sorry, that I did earlier. So this is one I did earlier with the same paper collection, and this one has pockets on the inside of here. And then we also have some book corners. Again, those can be found on Amazon for about £6 for quite a big pack. Let's see if we can get those on. Some people like to glue these. I personally don't. It's just an extra step, provided you make sure that it is nice and tight. They usually stay pretty firm, and you can see the difference that's made. It's finished this off nicely. Now, it's important to say, if you're using cardboard, obviously if you press this down too hard, you're going to completely squash your cardboard, and then it's going to stick out and not look brilliant. So it is best to go gentle first and add more pressure as and when you need to. Again, this isn't something you have to do, it's just something that I like to do. You could use paper to make corners also if you wanted to, quite easily. Fiddly fiddly. And there we are. So this is our basic cover. Now when it comes to filling it, that's when I'll decide if I want to put anything else onto this cover. Whether it be, the same with this one, whether it be you know, a focal point, or whether I want to leave it blank, if I want to put a nameplate on it or anything like that. So this one was done out of an old book and is a little bit harder than this one, but size wise this is slightly taller, but the spine is roughly the same. Okay, these are nice, quick and easy things to do and can be done in any size. All right, so if you want to make yourself a big book of shadows, you can do this in exactly the same way, and then when it comes to putting the papers in, you can decide if you want to sew them in or if you would like it to be able to pull your signatures out so that you can move things around. That's up to you. We'll talk about that in the next video. So I hope that this has helped somewhat in your journal making journeys. The next video will likely be about shadow work, because I've had quite a lot of requests about how I went about research and what advice I can give to those who want to begin shadow work. So I will be working on that the next few days. The video after that will be for signatures. Okay, so I hope this has helped, and I hope to hear from you all soon. Blessings.